Hello, everybody, and welcome to Chapter Select, a seasonal retrospective podcast where we bounce back and forth between a series exploring its evolution, design, and legacy. For this season 7 finale, we are wrapping up the Metroid Prime franchise. My name is Max Roberts, and I am joined, as always, by Logan Moore. Hey, buddy.
Hop on your viola and let's finish this podcast season.
Every time I read it or say the name Viola out loud, I think of Lola, the song. Is that how it goes? Which then Weird Al parodies into
Weird
Yoda.
Al, Yoda. Yeah.
Yeah, it could be like Viola, Viola.
My stepson likes that song. He's kind of obsessed with that song right now, so I've been hearing that a lot. We actually, quick aside, we bought him a stereo player and a CD player for Christmas and set that up in his room. And my wife was so excited for him to listen to a bunch of music, and the only thing he has done since getting this is just play Weird Al on repeat, and she is so saddened and disappointed that this is all he wants to listen to is Weird Al.
He's at the perfect age for it. You know, he's on tour next year. You should see if I bet he's coming in your area. You should go.
I think he is. Yeah, we should go. That would actually be a good birthday present.
I've been to 2 Weird Al concerts, and they are amazing.
They're very fun. I saw him live at Bonnaroo at a show that took place at 2 a.m.
I bet that's it. I saw him for my birthday in 2019, 2018, with a symphony, a 50-piece symphony.
That would be fun.
You have not lived until you've heard White and Nerdy with an orchestra. And then it was called the Strings Attached Tour, which was pretty good. And then I saw him play pretty much all original songs, no covers. Right after Eloise was born, we were supposed to go for our anniversary, but Abby was home, and I went with my dad. And he played an even longer version of Albuquerque, which is my favorite Weird Al song. So I lived a very long life.
I just exposed my stepson to that song the other day, and his question after listening to it was, why would a donut shop sell weasels?
That's a good question. All right, to wrap up the Weird Al tangent. One day, Abby was telling me that she stopped at Dunkin' Donuts, and she's replaying this exchange to me where she goes and goes, "Do you have any glazed donuts?" She said, "No." She's like, "Do you have any jelly donuts?" She just did basically the whole bit, right? I'm like, "Abby, you've got to stop. I know what you're doing." She said, "What?" I'm like, "It's Albuquerque." She's like, no, this really happened. And I think they went back and checked for apple fritters. I was like, you gotta be kidding me. I could have been living my favorite moment.
Art imitates life.
Oh my gosh, what a song. What a song indeed.
Welcome to Chapter Select, Season 9, the Weird Al season, starting with Running with Scissors. Go.
Oh my gosh, that would be a blast. A music
season. That would actually be fun.
We could watch that movie, the Daniel Radcliffe movie.
I haven't seen that yet. Max, we're here not to discuss Weird Al, even though that's very fun and is a big focal point of my life at the moment. We're here to discuss, as you said, Metroid Prime 4 Beyond, which is a video game that now exists for real.
It exists. It's out in the world. It's been out in the world for a month and a half.
Yeah.
I went to a store and picked it up.
It's weird. It's weird that we're here. I never thought we would get here. And I'm very excited to talk to you about this because we still don't know how the other feels, even though I reviewed this game and have a review for it on the internet. We've not talked about it pretty much at all. So I'm very much looking forward to our discussion. As always, though, before we dive into that, let's do the rundown for every bit of information here with Metroid Prime 4. The game released, as Max said, on December 4th, 2025, was developed by Retro Studios, and it released across both Nintendo Switch and Nintendo Switch 2. The design director of the game was Bill Vandervoort, and the producers were Jeff Moreaux, Kensuke Tanabe, and Risa Tabata. The music was done by Kenji Yamamoto, who also, you noted here in our notes, did Metroid Prime 1, 2, and 3 as well. And then Minako Hamano, who did Metroid Prime 3 Corruption. The game sits currently, I'm going to guess this is going to be where it kind of sits now in perpetuity, because it's been
a
long
month and
enough
a half.
for, a lot of the final reviews have kind of trickled in. It's sitting at a 78 out of 100 on Metacritic, which is by far the lowest for a mainline game, for sure. I think Federation Force was lower.
It's only above Federation Force. It actually is even beaten out by Pinball by 1 point.
Where's Hunter's at? I forget.
Hunter sits at an 85.
Okay. That's what I thought. I figured Hunter's would be above it.
Federation Force is a 64 to refresh those. So it sits well above Federation Force, but well below the core trilogy, which the lowest would be 90 for Corruption and 97 for Prime 1.
Max, this game's a long time coming.
18 years, if you do the math.
Let me start here as far as our histories go with the game. And, I was in the Los Angeles Convention Center when this game was announced, and I still remember that. This is one of my biggest E3 memories, is the entire Los Angeles Convention Center exploding in cheers and excitement when this game was announced. That was probably the biggest reaction of an announcement that I can remember, as that direct aired in 2017 at E3. People lost their minds.
Yeah.
And I remember just being like, wow, people really like themselves some Metroid out there, even though these games don't sell all that well. The hardcore of the hardcore who are, taking the pilgrimage to E3 really like themselves some Metroid. And I remember, I will forever remember that moment. I'm also the guy who wrote the Metroid Prime 4 getting delayed is a good thing article, or not a good thing, is good because Metroid games suck. I think that was the title of the article. Yeah, I wrote that article, and that rustled some jimmies on Twitter back in the day. I think that would have been 2019 when the game got delayed indefinitely or completely rebooted its development. And I firmly believe that at the time. And I will say this, now that we've kind of gotten here to the end of it, we'll do a full seasonal wrap up for this when we get to the end of this episode. I do still think Metroid's a little overrated. It's good. Not good enough to be one of the most acclaimed video game franchises in history, though. But it's good. I like Metroid. I have a newer appreciation for Metroid. A lot of things I like about it. Other than that, though, I mean, I feel like the past, ever since that rebooted development announcement, I feel like it's been just kind of the same story for everybody. We've just been waiting. Where's this game? What's going on, Nintendo? And then remerge, it's out.
They were very quiet its entire development, probably for a multitude of reasons. So
the last thing I guess I'll say that's important for our discussion here is, and I don't think this necessarily matters or shape my view. I did play this game in total secrecy ahead of launch. I reviewed this for Comic Book, which is the site I write for. So I played this in advance before anybody else, and I just had to really kind of stew on what I thought about this game, which it's a hard game. Even now, us talking about it today, I think my ultimate stance on where I landed on this is I don't know how to feel about this game. It is one of the strangest video games I have ever played in my entire life. I ultimately liked it, and I think it's pretty good, but it's so weird. This is one of the weirdest video games that I can remember.
Yeah, that sounds like Metroid to me. Sometimes it gets a bad rap. Other M out? Anyone out there? Other M? Anyone? So, while I was not at an E3 convention center, which, I mean, just to remind people, is E3 2017. This is what, 3 months? 3 months after the Switch came out, after Breath of the Wild. I think Super Mario Odyssey was revealed at the end of this press conference.
It was revealed at the Switch event to start the year,
Right.
but this
The
was
big
like
trailer.
the Cappy trailer where you found out you could take
Transform.
over other beings in the game. Yes.
Yeah. So this was basically there from the launch of the Switch, promised for the Switch, and we've just been waiting an entire console generation. Not unlike Kingdom Hearts 3, which a lot of at least I at the time thought, oh, this will surely come out for PS3. I even wrote a blog post, Kingdom Hearts skipped a console generation and why it's a good thing. I remember vividly writing that one. We waited a long time for this, and I think its development and the Switch 2 probably helped extend that. But the thing I remember the most is when they announced that they were rebooting the game. I was at my in-laws' house watching my sister-in-law, and we worked at we worked at DualShockers together.
DualShockers, yeah.
And I was like, I will write this right now. And I hopped on my laptop and wrote that article. And sad news, disappointing news. That would be the word. We've lost 2+ years of development theoretically, right? If they started before 2017. But Retro Studios is back. That was like the good news that was tied to that announcement was Retro's here. There was even a quote, about Tanabe, work and trust and collaboration with Retro Studios for Metroid Prime 4. Like it, at the time, and I think probably overall, it was seen as a very open and honest and good thing. Actually, probably quite Japanese of them to publicly apologize for the news and the delay. But Retro coming back after Tropical Freeze, which was that 2011? Tropical Freeze was, I think. That was their last
11
game.
or 12?
It was 2014. It was February 13th, 2014. So the last game that Retro made was 2014. They were tied to Prime 4 in 2019, and the game didn't come out until 2025. 11 years later. Now, in between that, they did do the Switch port of Tropical Freeze. They did do the Switch port remaster of Metroid Prime.
Yeah.
And they've done support work on other titles, but Retro hadn't put out a new title, in over a decade.
The important thing to mention, too, and we'll get into this a little bit later, because we do have one news source here we're going to, I know, talk about in the podcast, but they had shifted themselves as a company. They were no longer a shooter studio or a Metroidvania studio. They did not have the infrastructure or the people to make a game like this. So it wasn't just like, hey, Retro, this didn't work out. Take this over and, do what you want. Like, they had to staff up from kind of scratch to do this.
It's not like Activision going, hey, Infinity Ward's dropping the ball here. Treyarch, can you step in and put out a...
Yes.
Like the two of them they share a code base. I assume those studios could work together. This was... Retro left the first-person action game in the Wii era after Corruption. They made Donkey Kong Country Returns, and then they made Tropical Freeze for the Wii U. There's Mario Kart 7 in there. They were a huge part of that as well. They just weren't the same studio anymore, and so now they were being summoned to go back, and I think the results are very, very interesting, but there's a lot tied up in this game from that announcement, from these expectations. I mean, we've played all of the games, I guess, Sans Pinball, and there's a cachet, with the word Prime slapped on a Metroid game and Retro Studios slapped on the box with it. Federation Force kind of tainted it, but, that was a 3DS co-op shooter spin-off. Yeah, it wasn't like some big primary thing. And so I think there's a lot surrounding this game before it ever came out, right? From day one. And then day one again when they announced the reboot. There's a lot riding on this one.
Well, Metroid had kind of been dragged through the mud over the past however many years. So Prime 3 was what, 2007?
7.
Correct? So, and then Other M was after that, which was poorly received. And then you had,
unfortunately,
Federation Force, and you had some
so there were Samus Returns.
I was going to say, you had some tried and true, old school Metroid games, like Samus Returns, I was going to mention as well. But, even Samus Returns had some, it was seen as this is good. We would like to get more stuff like this, which they did with, Dread eventually came about.
And I mean, not to get totally lost, but Dread was also a game announced for the Nintendo DS originally, was Metroid 5, Dread. And finally seeing that logo come back in the Switch era was same sort of feeling, right? I don't know, Metroid just has this very troubled dev and release cycle over its entire franchise history. And you have these different moments of when Prime 1 came out, it also launched same day as Fusion, a traditional 2D. And that one actually was more handholdy, like some may say Beyond or Corruption are. And then Prime, this whole new concept, this first person Metroidvania, was actually the more traditional of the kind of game. And it's, while we don't have, there wasn't a Metroid Prime or a 2D Metroid game released alongside Beyond, Dread did come out a handful of years ago. It was a game I'm quite fond of. Actually, you're playing it right now.
Yeah, I'm playing it as we speak. That game that's a slick game. That's the word that keeps coming back to my mind as I play through it. It's so fast paced. I loved it.
It's a great, and so we're kind of in this. Not only that, but Dread sold very well. Metroid Prime Remastered sold very well for the franchise. So Metroid's on this really big upswing. We're finally, after 18 years, getting Prime 4. And where do we find ourselves, Logan?
Where did you land? Like I said, I ultimately have landed with this, that it's a good game, but it's deeply flawed. The headline for my review, because I think this best summarizes my feelings, is Metroid Prime struggles to evolve beyond its roots while still offering a satisfying Metroidvania experience. I think the core tenets of the Metroidvania formula and the things you want them to hit on are in this game. And in that sense, it's enjoyable, and I had a good time with it. But it tries to change the formula in some ways as well. We've got a big open area in this game, and the illusion of choice telling you can kind of go wherever you want, and actually that's not true at all. Those elements where they try to push things forward or experiment a little really, really fall flat. And yeah, we can talk about that stuff further.
I think it's a comfortable game. It's a beautiful game, but it can be an annoying game. I think if you kind of broke it all down, and I think the annoying part actually comes more from baggage. And previous decisions. It doesn't actually sound like it was a full reboot. It sounds like a please fix what we have. And we'll see how that all shakes out here. But where should we start?
I mean, I guess let's just start with the good then. Again, I think the Metroidvania elements of this are fun. Running around, trying to figure out puzzles in the environment, trying to upgrade Samus, seeing things, making mental notes, knowing to come back later to something that you can't access right now. All of those things are still in this game. And they're fun. And those are the enjoyable things. You did a lot more of the completionist stuff in this than I think I even did. I want to say I ended up around 80 to 85% complete with the items and stuff. So I did quite a bit of it.
I was around in the low 90s.
Okay.
And I would have gone for 100%, but I found out that I had missed one missable scan. And it wasn't because I didn't, I forgot to do it. The visor scanned the wrong creature, which is similar in shape and design as the creature I was trying to scan, some lava squid. I was like, oh, I've already scanned it. Now I will kill it. So when I found that out, I was like, oh, I don't need to go get the other things I'm missing because I don't want a 99% file. I'll live without it.
Yeah, that would be grueling. All those things work well. And then I think just the general gameplay. There are some very small refinements to the shooting in this that I loved. I love that you can lock and simultaneously move the cursor while you're locked in.
Well, that's
now.
That was what it was in. Well, maybe
I
not
guess that was
way
it
you
was like
played
that in
corruption,
but it was with Wii controls, obviously. So like
right.
you could, yeah, but like now they have adapted that to just modern dual stick conventions, and it feels really good. It feels really nice. I felt like you had great control over the shooting in this game, which, as somebody who played all of the other games on Steam Deck, it was like a night and day difference.
It celebrates the lineage of prime shooting, right, from the GameCube controller all the way up through the Wii remote to even the Switch controller with remastered, and then introduces yet another control scheme with the mouse pointer controls. And all of them felt great. All seemed viable to me. I played primarily with a Pro controller with slight gyro aiming for like fine-tune refinement in the moment. But it's one of the smoothest feeling FPS. Like you wouldn't believe this came from Nintendo. It honestly kind of felt like a Bungie game as far as its polish in the shooting there. Now, granted, it's not as fast as something like that, but it definitely has its roots kind of in that arena.
I think a lot of people who worked on this game, like we mentioned, Retro staffing up, I'm pretty sure Retro gathered a lot of people who were like former 343, which is a positive and a negative. But like that's where the Bungie ties, I guess, come in there with what you're talking about and how it kind of feels like a game like that.
It's really slick controls. I will say, and I don't know if we want to talk fully about the psychic powers now, but there are certain psychic abilities that require probably too many button press combinations for me. I think primarily of the power bomb, where you have to go in your morph ball, drop the bomb, hold the bomb button, the bomb floats up, you have to stand back up, turn your psychic visor on, and then hold to grab the power bomb to then use the force to beam it somewhere. Like, it's too many button presses for me. Like, we should just be able to do some sort of quick combo here for that. That one felt very cumbersome. So it was interesting to see where they were like, how do we fit all of this on a controller?
Yeah. There's definitely quite a bit. Like, they try to add a lot to Samus's arsenal in this game with the psychic abilities and stuff. And more often than not, though, they just slap, rather than a super missile, it's a psychic missile or something like that onto it.
Yeah, they just put the word psychic in front of it.
Mm-hmm. They just change the adjective there, and that's about it.
That was probably the most disappointing element for me. I was quite hopeful for new abilities or new power-ups, new beams, but it did feel very like, I get that there is a core here, right? Like in Metroid, you get missiles, you get energy tanks. Like, that doesn't change. That's always a thing. But I was kind of hoping for the psychic abilities to be a bit more than just grapple, psychic grapple, spider ball, psychic spider ball. I was like, this is a bit disappointing. The most psychic ability, besides maybe moving power bombs, which was also an ability I forgot a lot about. I'm like, how do I get the morph ball?
I forgot about
there?
that sometimes too. Yeah.
But I was the beam, which everyone kept calling
beam,
the batarang. Yes,
I was gonna say that's the most wholly new addition mechanic wise to this game, and it's just a mechanic from another game for the most part. Which that's fine. Games borrow from one another all the time. I have no issue with that. That's fine. It made sense. It works. There's some good puzzles.
It's
and
a good
boss
mechanic
fights and stuff with it.
Yeah,
it's fine. In fact, I don't think they used it enough sometimes. Yeah. The boss that you fight in the lava, when you get to the end of it and its mouth opens up, and the whole time I was like, how do I get in there? How do I get in that thing's mouth?
I tried jumping in the lava.
Yeah, I totally forgot that I even had the control beam at my disposal to shoot down into its mouth. I thought I was going to have to go morph ball and go down into its gut and drop some bombs in there. like they don't make you use the control beam that much to where you forget about it. So I would have actually liked to have seen it used a little bit more. But yes, even that, it's something familiar. Again, is that a bad thing? No, but it's not it's not something we've never seen in a game before,
And I think really her power-ups and arsenal being essentially the same, like full blown the same. But we also didn't get like the screw attack didn't come back.
I was gonna mention that. The screw attack feels like primed to be in this game more than any of them, given how like wider the scope is in some sense.
Well, I actually would have wanted the speed boots to run.
That would have been nice. Yeah.
I think that would have been really great. It would have been super fun in Soul Valley, but I also think some of the environments could have really benefited from like the ice belt across that field. Like that just would have felt good. And I think it could have opened up some like jumping and I don't know. And that's never been in a Prime game. Like that's something from Prime or Metroid's back catalog that we could have pulled from. But
yeah,
it didn't come to fruition. I wanted to ask you about the beams. This game basically Samus turns into the Avatar, not James Cameron's, but Nickelodeon's, where she controls fire, ice, and lightning. And they bring back the ammo system from Echoes.
Mm-hmm.
And I was nervous when I saw that. I'm like, ugh, I do not want to be managing 2 types of ammo. But I never ran out of it. It actually
I never
wasn't.
ran out either.
It was never a problem, which makes me wonder why it was there. Like why I needed anyway. But I will say I was a bit disappointed that it was just elemental. I would have preferred more like of a wave beam or more, I don't know, like more sci-fi-y things than just fire, ice, and water.
Some of the like the wave beam, I'm trying to think, like that's the one that in the other games that you use to like see certain things, or I'm trying. Or is
the
that
visor?
The
there's the X-ray visor. The wave beam was in one, and it's the purpley wave. But I always think of it. I always think of it in Zero Mission, where it goes through things, like it will go through a wall, and then. What I really wanted was the beam to upgrade. I think this is essentially what happened in Corruption, if I remember correctly. But like you didn't choose between multiple beams. Your beam just got better.
It just got better.
And like
time.
abilities stacked.
But
they opted for the different beams this time, which is good and fine.
But there are still beam upgrades as well in the game too.
Just power and damage. That's normal. That's fine. But what did you think about like the elemental ankle, I suppose?
It was fine. I think this is I think it speaks to the larger issue with the game in some senses. Like it's very rudimentary in some regards, which is fine. Like this is the first Prime game in almost 20 years. You want to go back to the basics. Hey, we're going to have an ice area. Hey, we're going to have a fire area. Hey, we're going to have a forested little greenery area. Like we've got these different sort of locations in the game. And then you're going to, I think the thought of, putting different elemental beams that Samus can use that kind of corresponds with the environment around her. It makes sense, but like it was just kind of uninspired in some sense. Combat-wise, I didn't hate them. I liked how they interacted with the enemies. They have some cool uses.
Very rock, paper, scissors with the enemy types. There's organisms, machines.
Yeah, it was fine with the boss fights and stuff like that. I'm trying to think of all of them. It was what? Ice, fire, and then what was it
Lightning.
Just electricity?
Yeah.
Lightning? Yeah. And then the
charge electric beam's pretty sick.
I like that one too.
Oh my gosh, it feels really good.
Yeah, I like the electric one. I felt like that was the one that felt the most like original. Ice and fire was just kind of like, okay, we've seen this
always got to have an ice beam
in
or
some
an ice
sense.
missile or something.
Yeah, it just felt very safe again, which is weird because so much of this game feels safe, and then other parts of it don't feel safe at all. And it's like, what are you doing? And again, we'll talk about this, but even the developers kind of knew that. Like, yeah, we realized we couldn't go backwards, but it is what it is at this point, you know. So like, yeah, I don't know. The beams were fine though. Largely, I like combat in this game. I think combat feels better in this game than any of the others. Now, could there have been some, like, could the weapons at Samus's disposal have been a little bit more unique and interesting compared to past games? Yes, but like, still, I think this is the best playing Prime game by far.
Oh, absolutely.
So yeah,
Viola. Can we talk about Viola or Viola?
Mm-hmm. I was waiting to. I didn't know when we wanted to because I figured we'd have a lot to say about the little motorcycle more than just about anything else mechanics wise.
Yeah. So, okay. The motorcycle. This is what they wanted the ship in Prime 3 to feel like. Like an actual vehicle you get to use. But in Prime 3, obviously, you just got missiles and a crane. This, you actually use the vehicle all the time. And you get to do the Akira slide all the time.
Yeah.
I like it. I think it's a very fun and satisfying way of transportation. It feels good. It's satisfying. It's simple, but it's satisfying. And I like it. I do wish the speed limit wasn't used so heavily in certain areas. Like, just crank the speed up a little bit. We don't need to go so slow.
Mechanically, I think Viola's fine. I think it works. It's good. The problem is that there's like nothing to do with it. Like there's one boss fight where they incorporate it, and they're like, you know, this is the fight where you're gonna have to use it. What's the second one?
Well, there's Lava Monster, and then there's the whale in the desert.
Oh, okay, but that's
the
like
whale.
I guess that is a primary. You need it for the mech part. That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess 2 where you need to use it. But other than that, it's really just kind of a means for getting around, and everything in this game is spread so far apart from one another, and you just end up riding this motorcycle in straight lines, and you look to run across some green crystals on the way to wherever you're trying to go, and you know, maybe you'll hit a cool ramp too, and that's fun, and shoot some monsters that show up on the way, but like there's nothing much to it otherwise. And like I think the best, like I think of when you first get it too in the Volt Forge, like the first thing they make you do is they're like, hey, you got this cool motorcycle, you're gonna go do like races now for some reason, and you do like 3 floors of races around a track.
That's a tutorial.
And then it's the tutorial. They want you to learn how to use it. I get that. But like, it's so strange.
You know what it reminds me
out
of?
of place in the game.
I think thematically it fits. Like the Moreaux would have had a testing facility. Like that makes sense. But it kind of, you talking about it reminds me of back in like the PS2 era where like Jak 2 and 3 had a hoverboard mini game area, like where you could just ride a hoverboard around and do tricks. Like this was like, what is the point of this? Honestly, Jak 2 and 3's whole hover vehicle thing, where you, very Grand Theft Auto inspired, where you just throw people out of their cars and drive them around, but very of that like, oh, it's just how to get around town. It's not like they don't shoot guns. This is very simple, but it does feel satisfying. And I think Viola is a good maybe spot to start here with. Is it's cool, and I think it's cool for the sake of being cool, and Retro does that very well and very often in this game, and not just with Viola. Like the bike looks sick, the Akira slide is dope, the speed boost feels good, the shooting is super easy but satisfying. Like there's a good feedback loop, and you feel cool doing it. And there's a lot of this game that is like that.
Yeah. I mean, just the thought of, you know, hey, we're going to give Samus a motorcycle in this game. It's like, okay, cool. Totally down with that. very aesthetically interesting. She looks cool riding this motorcycle. Yeah, let's do it. But like, yeah, even in my review I wrote here, like I'm having to consult my review because it's been almost a month and a half since.
Sorry. I took a long time.
No, it's more that I played this game before everybody else. I think I probably would have played it alongside you if I hadn't reviewed it. But yeah, like even in my review, I talk about like, you know, it's cool, but there's not much gameplay variety to it, which I totally stand by. I just think there's not a lot to do with it. And I don't know how they would spice, like you're talking about how, you know, like in Jack, like the vehicles were there to just kind of get around town and that was it. But that was in a much smaller environment. Like I think this is a natural point to talk about like the design of the game. And the scope is just too much in this game at times. It is so empty, this world. Like they try to sprinkle in some things for you to do here and there. The main hubs are on the four corners of the map, and then, you know, the forest area or whatever, the main sort of hub that you keep going back to
Fury Green,
where your companions are at is like towards the left side of the map. But other than that, like everything's in the corners, and then there's just a huge big wasteland in the middle that you can kind of explore and find stuff. And obviously there's other little things that they try to sprinkle in that you can, you know, get some upgrades for your various beams or the mech parts that you stumble across hours prior before. Like I remember messaging you when I was playing it. I was like, I'm pretty sure I'm nearing the end because there's something I haven't done yet that I know I'm going to have to do probably very soon. And once I do that, it'll probably be the end of the game. I mean, it's just get the mech parts. Yeah. So like they show you those things, but like, that's the thing. Once you get the Viola, your natural inclination is to be like, well, I want to explore the world. This is such a huge world. Like what all is there to do? And the answer up front is like, not much.
So that's an interesting difference for us because when I obviously I had to wait to play the game. And when review embargo broke, while I didn't read a ton of reviews, I saw highlights and things people were saying. And a very popular comparison, Soul Valley, which is the desert in Metroid Prime 4, a popular comparison was, oh, this is Hyrule Field in Ocarina of Time. Not a lot to do, just connects all the hubs with some little stuff in the middle. And so going into the game, I knew there was nothing to do in the desert, which is fine. So I would just drive around. I'd hit the crystals and kind of go to my next destination. And then maybe halfway through the game, when I realized I needed more green crystals, I just started filling out the little hexagons on the map. I'd be like, oh, well, let's, just follow and go get green crystals along the way, which was fun. There's something innately satisfying. I mean, Ubisoft tapped into this for the last 15, 20 years, which is check off map, make go, brain go happy,
Yes.
So it's just like fill in the map. Castlevania, Symphony of the Night, fill in the map. Metroid, fill in the map. It feels good to do that. And so that felt great, on the hub world and riding the bike to do that and felt good. But I never expected to do anything in the hub world beyond pick up those mech parts because it's very obvious early on. Like they make a big showcase of showing you the destroyed mech, and it's like, oh, here's more parts to build. It's like, okay, eventually I'll get to do that. So I think that's interesting. I think my problem with the design or using Soul Valley like that is that illusion that it gives you that you get to choose where to go.
This is what I was going to say. That's my biggest problem is when they give you the motorcycle, they also the game kind of tells you now you can go anywhere you want and you can go, there's this place over here, there's this place over here, and there's this place over here. You can go to wherever you want, Samus. Let's gotta complete this. We got to complete this main objective. That to me is saying like, oh, cool. Like this game's going to let me do whatever I want in whatever order I want. And that itself is also kind of an encouragement to the player to like go explore and see what else you can stumble across because there's maybe some other secrets out there. Little do you know. And this is where like this type of idea of game design clashes with the Metroidvania style of game design, which is like you need specific things to access specific areas. So like it almost has to be linear to a degree. You can't have an open-ended game like this and have it also be a Metroidvania game. But this is what they have tried to kind of do or pretend to do to tell you that it was possible, but it's not.
It's a very interesting illusion. So before I get to one of my I had quite a few big brain ideas. Like if I was sitting in a meeting at Nintendo back in 2017 or 19, like this is what I would have pitched. But before I do that, there's this to get those shots, those different, the fire shot, the ice shot, and the thunder shot. You get these little chips, and you are forced to take these chips all the way back to Miles McKenzie, our favorite NPC, Miles McKenzie.
You got to launch yourself in that cannon many a time. Fly through the air.
It's good. It's fun. You do that. He talks and talks and talks while he pokes at a hologram screen and then gives you a chip that you put in your cannon and you unlock this ability. And at the when I first got to Soul Valley, I looked at the skyboxes and was like, so there's a jungle I just left. There's Volt Forge, which I just left. So there's ice. There's this like other thing in the corner, which turned out to be the mines. And there's a volcano. And in my brain, I'm like, they probably want me to go to the volcano because fire and Metroid kind of go hand in hand. I'm like, I want to go to the ice place. Like, I'm going to go to the ice place. So I go to the ice place. You can't.
I think I went to the ice place too. Yeah.
You go 2 rooms in. The wall is frozen. You're like, dang it. I can't go here. They've lied to me. So I go to the other corner. I basically go everywhere but the volcano. And you can't cross the bridge to get to the mines. I'm like, oh my gosh. They're just making me go where they want me to go. And you go to the volcano, and you can only go so far into the volcano, too. And I was like, oh, this is kind of interesting. And that's when they give you the fire shot, and then you can go to the ice place. And I was like, why? Why do I have to take this stupid chip all the way back across the desert to get the fire shot to then go to the ice place? Why can't I just pick this up like a normal power-up? But later, as I did that the second and the third time, I realized, I'm like, oh, I kind of see the vision a bit. It's kind of comforting. Like you get the chip and you're like, okay, I got to go back to base. Let me drop off all the green crystals I picked up. You get to go in that room next to home base that lets you use your new shot ability to unlock, eventually, I think, an energy tank. I was like, okay. And then you have to drive through the desert, which means you're hitting more green crystals. You get to do a little bit. So it's like this little, and there are shrines in the desert too that tie to those abilities. So it's like this little gameplay loop before you go back to each world. So I was like, oh, that's good and interesting. But here's my big brain idea. And I think this is, again, if I was in a meeting, this is what I would have pitched. And I think this would have worked a lot better to give you choice about where to go, but also give you some sort of...
Tanabe would have liked this. You think he would have been a big fan?
I think he would have, because it came from Nintendo. And they should have ripped off A Link Between Worlds. You should have been able to pick maybe a shot type or something, or just some, whatever, ability. But you could only carry one of them at a time.
Okay.
And you want to go to the ice place, and it's frozen. So you're like, I need the fire beam. Very, almost Mega Man-ish in a way, too. Like, oh, I need this element to be strong in this area. But as you venture through it, oh, well, there's like a lightning lock. Oh, so if I remember to come back with that, I can go explore this space. So you can choose, but you're not barred off. You have to balance the items. And then later there's, you do something and you can unlock a way to keep all of the beams, just like you could in A Link Between Worlds where you would rent things. I think that would have fit really well with a Metroidvania, but also this like illusion of choice. Because you can do whatever dungeon you want in that game, but you got to carry a certain item with you. And then there's a cost if you die and all that other stuff. But I think that would have fit better than just lying to us.
So you wanted Miles McKenzie to open a shop and sell you these upgrade chips right
essentially,
there in home
not
base.
even sell, but I mean, essentially that's what you're doing anyway, right? And
yeah, basically.
I mean, we will talk about the cast of characters in this game, but I think there could have just been like a Lamorne shrine or something where you go and you get the thing and you come back. Like, you don't need Miles to do it. It just, I think that structurally would have fit a little bit better. So that's my one of many big brain ideas with this particular game. I think that would have been a lot of fun.
I think that potentially could have worked. My big issue with like the format of this game and what you were talking about, like, you know, you go to the ice area and you find that you need this, and so it makes you go here and you get a chip and you go back to the miles and then you can go unlock. It's like, first off, the backtracking process to get back to miles every time you needed to, way too long. I get that they wanted you to go back and like deposit your green crystals and, like you said, interact with that one room, and like I get that, but like the process of getting there was a literal 5 to 10 minute process every time you needed to go back. And I think that Metroid Prime 3 actually handled this better, because there were moments where you would be on a certain planet in that game and it'd be like, hey, you're basically stuck now. The thing you need to advance further on this planet is on a planet you've previously been to. Metroid Prime 3 handled that better, though, because that game would allow you to progress much further in each area before it would send you back to another planet, for starters. And I don't think that Beyond it always does that. Like you said, you get like a couple rooms in and you realize, oh, I need this thing, and you're immediately hoofing it back to miles. Like, or like, I think of the lava area, you get one of the chip upgrades pretty quickly there. It's not too far in, and then you're immediately heading back to miles.
That's the fire shot. That's the fire shot.
Yeah. And this is the other problem with this game and the levels and how it's laid out and stuff, is there are only one entry points to all of these different regions. Like with Metroid Prime 3, you would at least unlock new landing zones for your ship that were like halfway through the level. So you felt like you had progressed, and it's like, okay, well, when I come back here, I won't have to, you know, start from the same landing zone that I had landed at here before. I'm going to immediately pick up where I left off, and now I'm back on the Sky planet or whatever from Metroid Prime 3, and I have this new ability at my disposal, and I'm going to be able to immediately start pushing forward. Nope, you gotta hoof it through the areas that you had already passed before. And there's puzzles and there's secrets and there's stuff you can find by doing that, and that's, you know, fine. But there's a lot of backtracking in this game. There's a lot of going back and forth. Like, I feel like that's almost the majority, definitely not the majority, but like a good chunk of the. How long was this game for you? I'd say it took
12 hours.
10 to 12 hours is where I landed. I would say a third is probably like wrapped up in backtracking to some degree and venturing back and forth across the planet at times. Like,
I feel like the word backtracking has quite the connotation with a Metroidvania. This is not the backtracking where you're like finding abilities all the time and you're like, this is just driving somewhere else.
Yes, you have to go from point A to point B, and you know where you have to go, but it's still going to take you 5 to 7 minutes to get there or something. Like if you're at the lava place, and like I said, you get the magma chip or whatever, and you know you got to go back to Miles. You got to leave the Miles place. You got to hop on the Viola. You got to drive all the way across the desert. You got to get to the forest area. You got to launch with the cannon. You got to watch the cannon cutscene. You got to land. Then you got to go to Miles, and then you got to go all the way. Watch the cannon cutscene again. It's like, dude, what are we doing here? Like, this is so crazy. They should have had some sort of like, just gamify. Add some sort of fast travel thing.
It's not even. It's not even that big a stretch, Logan, because the Lamore mastered teleportation. Like, literally, could have just been a perk upgrade.
All they would have had to do too is like, you can't fast travel or teleport all over the map. You can only teleport back to the Miles McKenzie little station. That's it. You can just teleport back to home base. Like, if they would have done something like that, it would have been like, okay, perfect, great. This cuts literal an hour or two off of this game. But like, maybe that's kind of the point too. They didn't want it to be too short, and like how the game was designed and laid out for it to, you know, be a 10 or 12 hour experience. They like need a lot of that travel time baked in.
I think there could have been a fast travel option. The fast travel is very antithetical to Metroid Prime, but even then, like, corruption had forms of it. I think it would have been beneficial, at least to get around, especially just how empty the desert is overall. You know, they did the best they could with it, but it is a lot of driving. I think just they should have either made it where you could go to either one and then progress through it and then choose to come back later when you have other abilities to find the other secrets or pathways or options.
Mm-hmm.
Or they should have shrunk the desert, got rid of the desert, and made it one planet, which it is, and I appreciate that. I'm not galaxy hopping. I'm on one planet like a Talon 4 or a Zebus. But we kind of opened up the middle, and in interviews and things they've talked about, basically it was inspired by the likes of comments in Breath of the Wild and things like that.
I was going to bring this up right now if you just want to talk about this. Like, this is a perfect point to talk about this because we've kind of been tiptoeing around it. So, like, after the game came out, an interesting interview came out with an unnamed person at Retro or Nintendo, but people have said they're pretty sure this is Tanabe who's talking on behalf of
it's an interview with
team.
Famitsu, so it's just the development team, but
yeah, it's probably Tanabe who wrote this. But yeah, basically he says, quote, "At the start of the project, perhaps due to the influence of The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, we saw a lot of comments on the internet saying, we want to play an open world Metroid." First off, who was saying that? Was anybody
I'm sure
really
a lot of
saying
people,
that?
I think Breath of the Wild was very influential at the time.
It was, yes, it was. I'm not denying that, but also I think I don't know if I've ever seen too many of those requests. Anyway, continuing. However, Metroid's core element of increasing the amount of explorable areas by unlocking powers is not compatible with the freedom to go anywhere from the beginning of open worlds. Thus, we thought to design a limited area that could be freely explored, and have that be a hub that could connect to other areas. Then we thought if one could move around on the bike in a satisfying way in that area, it could be a segment that mitigates the tension from exploration and paces the whole game. In the end, the game took... I agree. It makes sense what they tried to do. He goes on to say, in the end, the game took much longer than expected to finish, and we realized that players' impressions toward open world games had changed. So basically, from the time people started saying, give us open world Metroid, supposedly in 2017 to 2025, open world game design conventions have changed a lot.
In part because of Breath of the Wild, but also I would say things like Elden Ring from Software.
Elden Ring,
yeah. The Witcher and Cyberpunk also are very influential of the last decade.
The final thing he says there, this is important. He says, that being said, development had already been reset once before when we started from scratch with Retro. So backtracking development again was out of the question, and we resolved to move forward with our original vision. During this time, shooting games and action games went through evolutions with an increase in game speed in particular, but taking in those changes would have made it difficult to construct the tempo of an adventure game, so we actively chose not to take them into account. Therefore, I think this game is pretty much divorced from the changing of the times. It's a fascinating, like, open, blunt summarization of what happened with this game, which we all knew, but, like, I never expected anybody to really go on the record and kind of say this.
I would love a GDC talk about this. Eventually, 10, 15 years from now, Did You Know Gaming will get an interview with Retro staff like they have for a bunch of other stuff, and we'll learn more about it. Like, this game will be talked about and probably studied quite a bit probably over the years, and its development cycle has to be a fascinating story. But again, that question of open world Metroid and what was it? Increasing the amount of explorable areas by unlocking powers is not compatible with the freedom to go anywhere from the beginning. And that's where I think a link between world structure, they answered it already, back on the 3DS. Gosh, what a good game that is. I should play that again sometime. But that, I think, could have been a really good way to strike the balance. Because I do agree with them. Metroid is about powering up and coming back and exploring. And I don't necessarily want to just I don't want it Breath of the Wild, but I do like the idea of it being open to choice. And how can you structure that sort of adventure to it? And that's a puzzle they didn't solve this go around. And I'm curious, well, like, we'll talk at the end about this, but I am curious where they go from here.
The last thing I'll say about the open world stuff is, like, I feel like they've talked about how, like, Breath of the Wild was influential. Breath of the Wild was influential, though, because that game really hinged on the idea of, like, you're just looking at the world around you, and the things that you see within the world are prompting you to search them out. Metroid Prime 4 is more, like you said, kind of like a Ubisoft game where you are exploring the world to see what points of interest you find on the map that you can then go to and interact with or not interact with. It's like almost the polar opposite of Breath of the Wild in some sense, because you never stumble across a shrine in Breath of the Wild that's like, hold up, you can't come in here yet. Like, you might not have the right tools at your disposal to solve the puzzle that lies within, but it's going to let you. And I guess
that's not true, actually, because shrines were always solvable with the abilities, the bombs.
Oh yeah, because they gave you them all.
They
up
give
front.
you everything on the Great Plateau. You've got the bombs.
That's right.
Time mechanic, and it's been a long time, but so you always had every tool you needed to solve a puzzle in Breath of the Wild, and because it was all physics driven, the question is just how do you want to solve the problem, and that's why that works so well. And obviously, then you amplify that in Tears of the Kingdom, I think, to a better degree, but it's.
Those games also have interesting worlds to look at, whereas this is just a lot of sand everywhere.
Specifically, Soul Valley is a lot of sand, yes, and there are some crashes. But the rest of the world, I think, is very interesting to look at.
Yes, and that's what I wanted to talk about next, is what do you think of the other hubs? Because they are all... This is where it's, classic Metroid in terms of art design. The music's great. I think that the art direction is top notch. Like all of the locations look and sound great. I think they all feel much smaller than a lot of biomes in the previous Metroid games. That would be my only.
I'm okay with
I was largely okay with that too, especially because of how much, I don't want to keep saying it, backtracking for lack of a better word, how much you'd have to go back and forth across the map constantly to get to other destinations. I enjoyed having these locales be a little bit more tight knit. But yeah, those elements of the game is where I ended up coming around to it and thinking, like, okay, this is good. This is Metroid. This is the Metroid Prime experience that I wanted and hoped this game would be.
Yeah. So there's, we mentioned them earlier. There are 5 core areas: Fury Green, Volt Forge, Lava Pool, Ice Belt, Great Mines. Honestly, we could have used better names all around, but you got a forest, you got an electricity place, a volcano, a frozen mountain, and underground facility. All of them, I think, are immaculately designed and themed. The stories within them are super cool. I don't know about you, but I thought I was getting major Resident Evil vibes in the Ice Belt Lab, where you're going down through it.
Mm-hmm.
Clearly, these monsters, they're trying to cure them, all of this stuff. And I did like the, albeit obvious, but the twist that the grievers are actually the Lemorne, like something happened where they turned. That was cool. And then when you turn the generator on, the place starts to thaw. It's a very good moment. That's another moment like where it's cool, right? Like it's all gray and frozen and icy, and then the music swells and it's yellow and crackling with heat and electricity, and you go back up through the area that you come through and things are melting. The grievers are finally coming out because they're thawing. It's such a well-crafted overall level, right? From beginning to end, where it's this quiet, scary-ish exploration, and you're learning about these horrible experiments that aren't working, and then you come back up and you're fighting the monsters as you get out. You've got this Tanabe guy up at the top with the leg and a sniper. He's like, I'll help you, Samus. It's cool. Like the Ice Belt level's cool. Lava pool. We got a big cannon that's getting ready to shoot something in the sky. Can we stop it? Let's, go around. It's getting too hot. Like, that's cool. My favorite, probably Great Mines. Thematically.
Really?
Like, thematically.
Okay, I was going to say that was my least favorite because of how linear it was. It was just...
It
kind of
is
very straightforward.
It is all straight. But I loved this idea. I don't think they executed it perfectly. So maybe I just like the idea more than the actual execution. But you have these two ideas of like the actual mining facility, like the structure the Lamorne built, and then the natural caves. But then you have this split where it's like there are these creatures in the walls and they're going to get us. And we have to break walls and rocks. But when we use missiles, it attracts the monsters and they attack. Like, I like the idea of this split, and I like the idea of this push. Like, these monsters are pushing us deeper and deeper, and we can't get out. We're being picked off one by one. It's a very B-tier horror, right? Like, oh no, everyone's getting pulled away. But the execution isn't up there, right? Like, it's not actually that spooky. It's very cheesy most of the time, especially with the cast of characters. But I like the ideas there, and Volt Forge is so cool looking. Oh my gosh, all the rain and lightning. The game is just so cool.
I was very glad that this was brought to Switch 2. This is by far like the best looking game on Switch 2 so far. There's been a lot of good games, but this looks very sharp on Switch 2. It performs incredibly well.
I think it's the best looking game I played in 2025.
It looks really good.
I don't think there's any game that came out last year that looked better.
Yeah,
who needs
like
Unreal 5? We need proprietary game engines.
For all the talk, that we've had this episode about the design difficulties and, choices that Retro made that were potentially not great ones. It's good to see that studio still has the juice when it comes to the visual side of things and the art direction. Like, because this, which is ironic because the game's biggest central area is like devoid of these things that we're praising it for here. It just doesn't have much to it. But once you get into the main little hubs, and there's a lot to like with each of them.
What was your favorite place? What was your favorite environment?
I liked the look of the Volt Forge most, I think.
That's what I would have picked for you.
Ice Belt felt most like classic Metroid Prime to me, and I really liked that. I feel like it greatly used all of the best mechanics within the metal, because there's a lot of morph ball stuff there too, which I like and thought was cool.
And it has that environmental storytelling. Like, you can tell what's going on. Oh my gosh, reading the logs, you're scanning everything. It's good stuff. It's very well designed.
Lava Pool is cool, but I'm soured by that boss fight because I don't love the Viola boss fight there at the end of the game. At the end of it, that was like the one thing that I didn't like with that area, is that they're like, oh, now you need to turn your motorcycle into this little hover machine thing. It's like, okay, I would rather not, but all right, I'll do it. I think Ice Belt is like is the tightest area in the game and feels like classic Metroid in all the right ways. So yeah, that was my favorite, but they're all good. Again, those areas of the game are really what won me over at the end of the day, when it came to this game. What'd you think of the bosses? And we'll talk about, the main overarching boss here at the end. Maybe when we talk more about characters and stuff like that.
True. The bosses are good Metroid fare, right? Like monsters that have mutated. They're all fine. I don't think any of them were particularly challenging, but they all feel cool and feel like they belong in a Metroid game. I think the most disappointing thing is the Metroids themselves and their use of them. So I wrote down, our only real touch points to the previous titles are Sylux. The mention of Metroids in scans, you don't actually, you see them in some cutscenes, but there are a few bosses, I think a total of 3, possibly 4. but 3 of them are mutated by a Metroid, like a Metroid. Join them and you read that in a scan visor. But you never see the Metroids you never fight the Metroids themselves. There's no real space pirates. There's no Chozo. It's like completely detached from which is fine. I'm cool with it. I would like Metroids in a Metroid game though, and especially since there were at least 3 of them in this game. Like it felt weird to not actually fight them, you know?
Yeah.
Or like at the very least for Sylux to use them at the end in his particular boss fight because they were his pets that we stole in Federation Force. What a silly ending.
Those pets just ended up inhabiting lava monsters on another planet.
Yeah.
Ta-da!
So
that's all that was done.
That was a bit disappointing, but the bosses themselves, very fun, very cool. I like them overall. They all feel very Metroid. I was hoping for a Kraid appearance finally in a Metroid Prime game, but no Kraid this time around. I was really hopeful in Lava Land. I was like, maybe he'll be here. But no.
Alas. There's Kraids in Super Smash Bros. Games, but not any Metroid Prime games.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Oh, well.
Yeah, I thought they were all like excellently designed. I thought they all looked really cool. Again, typical Metroid fare, like you said, but that's not... I feel like that's underselling it to some degree to just say like, yeah, it's par for the course, but the course is like
killer.
Yeah, it's great. Like so like they were very good. I liked all the bosses in this game. The only issue that I had with any of the bosses was the one we kind of keep mentioning here, which was the lava
dragon.
One. Yeah, did not enjoy that one.
I did really like this touch, which only happens twice in the game, which is fine. But there are 2 times that you fight Sylux, but they're actually robots in disguise. But when you scan them, it's like there's a powerful psychic shield and you can't break through it. And so you have to figure out the pattern or the weakness yourself. I was like, that's kind of cool. I like that. I like you're making me use my brain slightly more than normal. That's good. I like that. It was a good touch. Suppose there's like a narrative reason too. Revealed at the end. Oh well, whatever.
Maybe.
Well, the psychic shield part, powerful psychic shield.
Yeah. Let's get into the narrative because this is. I feel like I'm coming down harder on this was my difficulty with even writing my own reviews. It's like at the end of the day, I like this game, but it's easier for me to talk about the things that I did not like than the things that I did like with it.
Well,
and so I feel like I'm being
that's always the case. It's always easier to talk about the stuff you don't like.
Yeah, especially with like a 4th entry like this in a series where it's like, yeah, it does everything good from the previous games that I liked. Let's talk about the stuff that's bad. The story in this game, man.
Do you want like the whole story?
No. Let's just start with this. They really try to lean into it more so than ever before. More cutscenes than ever, more characters than ever, more talking than ever.
No, I disagree with that. I think there are more characters. There's more talking and characters in Corruption.
Really? Or well,
yeah. At the very least, out of the gate, you have the 3 bounty hunters. You have
a lot. You have a lot up front in Corruption for sure. But as the game goes on, I feel like it starts to kind of fall away. And in this game, I feel like it's more consistent throughout. So that's why I would say I feel like there's much more in this game, story-wise and character-wise. The big problem for me is that there's so much talking and banter, and they try to inject a lot of like humor into the game, and it does not work because Samus is a silent protagonist. And here's the thing that blows my mind. This is something I would not have known until I have played Dread here. She talks in Dread very, very infrequently, but she'll throw a line out here and like a couple of times. Have you not played Other M? No. I don't want her. I don't want Samus to be a chatterbox. I do want her to be quiet.
Oh,
but like,
well,
does she talk? She talks in Other M,
she
right?
talks a lot in Other M. There's
that's
a full blown voice cutscenes. Like it's a whole thing.
Yeah, I don't want her to talk a ton, but like it doesn't work. It falls so flat. What falls flat is the banter they try to write in so many times, especially with I mean, Miles McKenzie is his own kind of character. That's fine. But like, I think specifically with Duke and Armstrong, once you get to the section where you're running around with both of them, they're chatting to one another, going back and forth. They're trying to like, which one is Armstrong the girl? She's trying to talk to Samus some, and Samus just does not say anything the whole time because she doesn't say anything to anybody. It's like this doesn't work. Like you have to have Samus say one or two words every now and then, I feel like.
So, okay. All right. I want to go back to this. So Metroid is rooted conceptually in the film Alien and like this idea of B tier sci-fi horror, right? And I actually think this might be the most, like, Retro is so adept at its execution here. I really think Miles is, they knew exactly what they were doing when they previewed and gave everyone all this Miles stuff in Fury Green. Miles is, I think, perfectly written. Even his description is like he talks to himself all the time. And in Miles, solely contained in the cutscenes, I think is perfectly fine. It's him talking to you in the desert that's always annoying. And that's just Retro like, hey, you need to go this way. Go this way. Do you have enough crystals yet? That part's annoying. Sarge or Duke, I just called him Sarge the whole time. He's the most flat to me, even more than the robot.
Yeah.
He's awful.
I didn't even bring up the robot.
Armstrong, kind of love her. The beginning when you get her and she completely, utterly fangirls. Like, oh my gosh, you're the greatest ever. I was like, you know what? It's actually kind of cute. I kind of like it. But it's so not Metroid, right? But then you think about it, it's like, maybe it is. Maybe it is Metroid. And then I like Tanabe's, cool Western samurai kind of vibe. Whatever. He also doesn't really do much for me. He's all aesthetics. And then the robot is just that one K8 or whatever from KSO from Rogue One, whatever that droid's name is. Same sort of vibe. I like the cast in bits and pieces. I think there's a lot of corn here, a lot of cheesy, campy, corny stuff, particularly in the mines. The mines is really the roughest part for our team here.
Yes.
Because unprompted, it really is like out of nowhere, it feels like. You finish up, I think, wherever you get the robot, I think you go back to the ice place to get the robot. And then Miles is like, everyone's at the mines waiting for you. I'm like, wait, why are we, why is everyone waiting for me? What do I need these people for? And so the mines do that narrative thing that I talked about of like, we're going down, everyone's getting plucked away by these monsters. The problem is, well, Tanabe and the robot stay up top. I'm like, okay, so we've already got two of them out.
It's also not Tanabe. I'm sorry. It's Tokabi.
Tokabi. Thank you. Tokabi.
Tanabe's the producer. The producer's not.
Tokabi. So Tokabi, they stay up top. And then you go down and Sarge makes this sacrifice. He's like, I'll stop him. I'll stuff the hole with a drill. Except, guys, the grievers dig through the dirt. They're coming out of the walls. This will not stop them. Your sacrifice means nothing. And then Armstrong does the exact same thing. Don't worry, Samus. I'll stop them. Samus didn't need any of these people at any time in the mines. Not one. I guess the closest would be the robot yeeting her across the cavern, but she could have just like grapple beamed across, whatever. So this cool narrative idea is completely wasted on this corny, meaningless gestures from everybody, and it just bogs it down. It's like, what if we just went down the mines by ourselves? Why do I need everybody? And then they make a big fuss about going into the Chrono Tower together, but that's just a cutscene. There's nothing. So they fall really flat, like in this back half of the game. But I think in their individual chunks, except for Sarge and Tokabi, they're good. Like they're great. And if I may be so frank, I loved the end. I like when they all team up to fight Sylux and hold him back. When Miles got shot, I audibly gasped. I was like, oh my gosh, they're killing him. I was like, what a sacrifice. That's great. And I think that shows it's effective in that B tier writing of like, they did it. They hit the right note when they needed to hit the note. I loved it. I loved the end for all of these characters. It was actually really great. And I hope if there's a future game, we get to go save them in some capacity.
I understand what you're saying about this, like being rooted in like B film, horror, or sci-fi, or whatever.
Let me say this really quick. I also realize this could be part of my brain trying to justify really bad writing and really bad characters. And I want to be very clear. Like, I'm not trying to just make excuses. There are parts of this that I liked. And I think that they match with the roots, but it is by no means a justification for, Sarge going knuckle up every 10 minutes.
That's what I was going to say is like, I feel like they almost needed to, trust me, I love some schlockiness. I love some cheesiness in any sort of media. Like, I think it's great, but I feel like they almost didn't lean far enough into it where you can tell that like the writers or the dev team are in on the joke. And it's almost like, is this just poor, like, for lack of a better term, like Marvel writing or whatever,
Sure.
Which I know is a thing people throw around a lot, but like, I think it wasn't over the top enough almost. The other thing too,
they poured it all into Miles and no one else really got the over the top juice.
Yes, like Miles of all the characters was the one that I didn't mind.
Which is so funny because given the previews.
Yeah, like he's annoying, yes, but like you can tell like that's the whole point. Like everybody else, It was just like, this is generic and just seems bad, like more so than intentionally trying to be schlocky or anything like that. I think the other thing too for me with Metroid, and this has always been one of my favorite elements of the games, is that they're very isolated. Samus is very much alone. This is why she's a silent protagonist for the most part. This is why she doesn't, typically work with others, which is why kind of the idea of having her be part of a team or an ensemble in this game is a little odd. Like these games are very much about Samus being like the Prime games. I know, again, 3 included some more characters and stuff like that, but the Prime games and a lot of the other 2D Metroid games are very much just Samus alone and in a certain environment, working her way through this area and trying to complete her objective or escape or whatever. Like that is a huge element of most Metroid games. And so for them to get rid of that to some degree by always having somebody talking in your ear or something like that was a little jarring. And that's where the disconnect was at for me more than anything. Like if they wanted to turn this into cheesy B movie action or something like that, then like they needed to lean further into that direction, I think, throughout the entire game. Instead, they're trying to like kind of juggle both, and it doesn't fully work because the sequences where characters are running their mouth with dumb quips left and right were the sequences were that I really wanted to end sooner rather than later so that I could just go back to being Samus by myself, exploring, trying to figure stuff out. Like you said, the drill is a good example of that. Like, why is everybody else here? I can just go down into this by myself and
I can push
figure this out.
I can start a drill. Like, None of this. They added nothing.
Yes. Speaking of adding nothing, Sylux. Do you think this was worth the literally 20-year wait to finally get this payoff? From Hunters to Federation Force, the tease of all teases, the only reason to play that game.
100% ending corruption?
Yes. And 3 teases of, or I guess not 3. Do they don't tease that he'd be involved in future games and Hunters. He just shows up.
He's just
corruption into Federation Force into this. This was Sylux's moment in the sun, sort of. Even though he's not really gone. I guess he could show up in Metroid Prime 5.
Oh, but he's absolutely still around. Okay. I have a Sylux rant within me. And I've accepted a lot this time. So back in our Hunters episode, we talked about, and basically I want to say it was Tanabe, not Tokabi. Tanabe was like, yeah, Sylux is cool. I just like Sylux. So that's essentially the gist of the quote, if I'm remembering it correctly. And I realized that's his sole purpose. It's to be cool. It's to be sick. His voice at the end when he talks, awesome. Great. Oh my gosh.
It's really cool.
Samus! I've been waiting for this. Sylux! Knuckle up! Just you and me, Samus. Come on! Let's get this over with.
His armor's sick. He's got this beam. He has a sword. His morph ball is pretty cool. Lockjaw. I mean, even the name for it.
It's got like green tendrils everywhere.
Yeah. He's so cool. He takes Samus through a wormhole and fights her in an alternate dimension. Everything about Sylux and an appearance front is just dope. And then there was all this talk. It's like, this is going to be a game about Sylux. He's going to be the villain. This is great. That teaser trailer with him in the Metroids, I'm like, this is awesome. We're going to fight Sylux. Like, he's going to be this bad guy bugging me the game.
He's not even in it.
His job's just to be cool. He's not in it. His job's to be cool and have a really weak backstory.
How did you feel going to the final area? After
like into the tower?
After you had gotten all the keys, gotten all the mech parts, and you know you're going to go fight him.
Yeah, so originally I thought, because they tease when you go to Lava Pool, they tease Sylux there, but really that was one of the robots in disguise. I was like, oh my gosh, is he like Darth Vader? Is he like hiding out in this lava castle and I got to fight him in the lava? What a disappointing just appearance in the game. He truly is not in it in any capacity. Ridley shows up more than him. And Ridley could only be, and even Ridley in Corruption had a terrible final boss fight, but at least he was like in it and had this super sick falling down fight, Balrog style. I was hopeful that there was just going to be a really cool story between the two of them. I don't even need his backstory. I thought he was going to be in the game, and he's not. Sylux's job from here on out is just to be cool, just to look dope and be this great antagonist with this incredible voice. And I've accepted that now. I now know that he is a lie and he's just, eye candy, for a lack of a better word. And I've accepted that. His origin story in particular, this is probably how like some original Star Wars fans feel about like the origins of, I don't know, whatever character they, liked in the original. This is how people feel about the Book of Boba. It's like, gosh, maybe we didn't need an origin story for Boba Fett. Maybe we didn't need him getting out of that Sarlacc pit. I don't like, okay, big Hunters fan over here, me, poured over that manual, always was reading about it. And so if you may indulge me, this is the official Nintendo's Player's Guide. This is the entry for Sylux. This is all the fan base has had to basically go off of for the last
20 years.
20 years.
Yeah.
Sylux was already in pursuit of Samus Aran when the Ambolic transmission was broadcast. For reasons no one knows, Sylux has long nursed an intense hatred for the Galactic Federation, its member planets, and most of all, its star bounty hunter, Samus. Sylux may well be Samus's equal, resourceful, efficient, and infinitely patient. It's odd considering his reason for his demise. The mysterious hunter has been tracking Samus secretly for days, waiting for the perfect opportunity to strike. Sylux's primary target is Samus herself, but the secret of ultimate power would be of great help against her. In fact, it just might be powerful enough to destroy the entire Galactic Federation. So all we've had is he hates Samus and he hates the Galactic Federation. I think him being a former Galactic Federation soldier really just kills all, like just kills it all.
Like the backstory doesn't even make any sense. Like he doesn't listen to orders. I mean, clearly the implication is just kind of like he was always kind of a bad guy. He's not a good guy to begin with, which I don't really like. I feel like if they should have given him a justifiable reason to actually hate Samus. Instead, it's just kind of like he's a jerk. He wants power. He gets mad. The person closest to him that he can blame for a certain situation is Samus. So he lashes out at her.
Honestly, like that was already like what his motivation was. And this origin story cutscene that you unlock with an amiibo or 100% completion just justifies what we already like had to go off of. So it just feels so pointless.
I mean, I wonder if they wanted to do other story things with this game and were even held back by what previous games had done, you know,
but
like not only were they held back from,
there's nothing. I get it. Like, what's Ridley's origin story, right? Like, why is this dragon in charge of space? Like, I don't need to know it.
I don't need to know either.
Like, I just want cool villains. And
but at least Dark Samus is like an ever-present threat throughout the other games.
Sure.
Showing up a lot.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, crap, Dark Samus is here. Like, even if you're not fighting Dark Samus, like, you know, 3 or 4 times across the game, like, they're showing up routinely and, like,
and Sylux
reminding you that, like, I'm the overarching villain. Yeah, Sylux is not in it. The only time he is as fake robots.
Okay.
And those fights are fine. Yeah, it's just everything was, I mean, yes, I echo everything you said.
I'm so mad.
Like, what a disappointment of, like, this build up for this game being,
and it's
this is finally going to be the Sylux versus Samus game. And it's just not. And again, we can talk about this here at the end. We'll talk about, you know, the future and stuff like that. But I think clearly the idea now is to make a Metroid Prime 5. Retro is staffed up to, you know,
no, they're going
make
back to
games
Donkey
like
Kong.
this.
They're going back to Donkey Kong.
I think they'll clearly make another one. The story ends on a cliffhanger. Samus just kind of abandons everyone and plants a tree, and that's that.
That's a good one, by the way. I like the tree scene.
But yeah, Sylux will be in the next game. I think Sylux, if they're planning another, you know, trilogy or whatever, Sylux is going to be the Dark Samus of this trilogy. Yes. But man, they got to do more with the next one. That's the frustrating thing is, like, if he had just kind of shown back up in this game and then everybody's like, whoa, Sylux is going to be in it. That's crazy. Like, that would be one thing. But instead they've teased this in 2 other games to, like, set up what you think is finally his big showing. And it's just, nope, not really in it.
Yeah.
Not really involved. I will say the final boss was great. Really love the final boss. I love the stage where you're all fighting him together as a group, and then when he whips you through a wormhole and you fight him alone, it's all very fun. And then there's kind of the Balrog-ish element to it where you're going through the wormhole shooting at him.
Very Star Wars. I was thinking like that. If I may, this was one of my other big brain ideas. We're back in the pitch meeting. I'm looking Tanabe in the eye, and I'm like, Here's the narrative pitch for this game. All right, we get rid of all the companions. I'm sorry, Miles. And they all turn into just basically abilities. Like Miles could have been like a tech support where you could upgrade your suit. The robot is a sonic beam that would destroy certain matter. Tanabe would be a scope, very hunters actually. So like whatever, each person would have had an ability. There's an assault on a Federation base. A teleporty beam rock explodes, and it sends Sylux and his Metroids and Samus to an unknown planet. Just the two of them. The only way home is a giant tower with a teleporter that will beam them back.
And they're each racing against the other to get what they need to get home.
So everywhere you go...
Or it couldn't even be that. It could just be Sylux is trying to stop Samus and is like tracking her the whole time to prevent her from getting back. He doesn't care if he gets back.
Sure.
All he wants to do is kill Samus.
You're interacting in the same space. He's not like every boss fight, but he's there all the time. He's changing the environment. Could be very invincible in that way, like Angstrom Levy, like we're in an alternate dimension. What are the consequences of being stuck here? Sylux would have been more present. It would have been more isolating. And the two of them going against for certain parts, like to get home, would have been great. And he could have used the Metroids more, like they could have been a bit more dynamic. Maybe they infest this planet and they start breeding. I don't know. But like, I won't ever believe any hype for a villain again for Metroid.
Well, I know we're going to kind of move on to wrapping up here, but we did not talk about this. What did you think of the overall story of being whipped away to another planet or another time and another planet, and there's the Lamorne?
I kind of thought there was going to be a better time element to this game. I think the closest thing is it's called Chrono Tower.
It doesn't really. I mean, it's a lot of it's attempted to be explained neatly in the scans and stuff like that, but it just everything with the Lamorne gets very puzzling, or not puzzling. It just kind of retreads the same ground, I guess, as far as Metroid goes. Like, oh, you're the chosen. We've been waiting for you, Samus. Finally, the chosen one to save our people or help us.
Well, what I liked is that she fails.
Yeah.
In a way, like they're all dead. It's over. Like they didn't succeed. And so you have to...
But does she fail? She plants a tree.
Right. She does the thing where she basically plants the next generation. I forget what other sci-fi thing. I liked that though, because Echoes is the same story of, oh, you're the chosen one. You can help us save the light version of the Aether over these dark, the Ing creatures or whatever. And you succeed and the bug people will come back or whatever. I like that you go there and you think, oh, maybe I'll meet these people or whatever. But no, you fail and robots are just taking care of everything. Or, they failed. They didn't find you in time. Or, I don't know. I wish there was more of a time element to it because it felt like there was supposed to be, but really it was more just space travel and teleportation. Overall, it's fine. I like the Lamorne
Does it
story.
Ever even begin to explain where this artifact at the beginning of the game that whips everybody away to another planet, however many light years away, even shows up? Like, it's just like they're transporting this thing and it gets knocked over or activated and all of a sudden, boom, everybody's on another planet. It's like, was this even explain? I don't know. It's just a catalyst to kickstart the story, I guess, the whole opening 20 minutes or so there. But even that, I didn't really understand what really happened that led to them all being whisked away to Viewros.
The story may not be that great, but I think the cutscenes are pretty slick. I think they're giving that Blue Studio or whatever that does Halo Master Chief stuff a run for their money. I think the presentation, and again, it goes back to just being cool. Every cutscene, Samus looks dope.
The opening's really cool, like which was kind of how they re-revealed this game initially, a year or two back. Like that whole opening with her flying in on her ship and jumping out of it, and that the whole opening sequence is very cool looking. Yeah,
good time, man. Every time you enter a new area, it has that slick title card, the music, like the vista. It's just every time you get a power up and she like holds her arm cannon up in the air. It's just, it looks so good. It's so beautiful. So pretty. It's very well animated.
it looks good. And also, I want to give a quick shout out to visually while we're talking about this real quick. Her suit looks awesome. Not the final suit and not the red one. I don't like the red one either.
No,
just her stand. I know
The
you
red
like
suit.
the Viola suit or whatever. I just like her standard Samus look in this game. I think it looks cooler than ever before, primarily just thanks to upgrades and technology and the power of the Switch 2 and all that. But I think her armor looks very, very cool in this game.
Yeah, no, she's. I think the Viola suit is the best looking Samus suit ever made. That red is fire. It's so good.
I like the blue or the like teal looking one and the yellow and the
fusion.
Red and some of the other. Yeah,
I'm a fusion.
I like
I'm a sucker for the fusion suit.
I like that one
but
too.
This is a very good looking game.
Do you have much to say about the music? I think we talked about it briefly. Again, another great soundtrack, I think, with this game. Even though people have complained about the lack of music in the desert area. But other than that, I think the different biomes all have great songs attached to them and stuff like that.
Yeah, I'm not mad about Soul Valley not having music. I think it's perfectly appropriate. They know when to hit the choir button. Like in the booth, they have a space choir button. They're like, now. I think the ice belt music outside is very good. Like they clearly understood ice level, requirements. But then the problem is that they change it when you go inside, and that's pretty disappointing. And the other thing is the grievers, in particular, trigger a specific, it may be all enemies, but I noticed it with grievers particularly. A specific, very shrill kind of music. Almost reminds me of the Phantom fights in the first Prime game. The music that would play when the ghosts show up that you shoot. And it just would interrupt the music. And in the Great Minds in particular, since you're always fighting grievers, that shrill music never stops, and it's annoying. So I was a bit I did not like the griever music in particular. But the rest of it's pretty good. Fury Green is standout, and I think, of course, because it's the first one. Volt Forge had a lot of guitar, if I recall correctly, but Ice Belt, just outside.
Still doesn't have anything on the first two Prime games, though, in my opinion.
Oh, no.
Sorry.
No, you don't have to apologize. It's hard to beat perfection. How do you top Vendrana drifts? That's what you study from here on out.
Exactly. Those are still the best in the series. Max, I think that's it. Except for legacy. What is this game's legacy? Even though I think it's a very clear and obvious one that we've kind of talked about throughout this episode.
Yeah, I think it's like I said at the top. It's a game that cannot escape the shadow of its reboot, and the ideas ahead of time. It's maybe not too many cooks in the kitchen, but the head chef was definitely dictating maybe the wrong ingredients to use or the wrong way to present the dish. But retro studios are masters of their craft, and they can polish like nobody else. It is a stunning achievement of a game in those regards, both technically and visually. In an industry of games that are coming out that can be 40, 60, 80 hours long, and have bugs and graphical issues and not look as well. This game is rock solid, and it's a tight, maybe not tight in the sense of like pacing overall and things to do, but it's 12 hours and it's gorgeous. You would be hard pressed to find anything that looks this good on PS5 Pro. Metal Gear Solid Delta, anyone? This is a great game. It's just, I think the pieces, they kind of had the wrong instructions or ideas from the outset, whether that's Nintendo, Bandai Namco, or Retro, whoever it was. They stuck to the wrong guns this time around, and it's unfortunate, but I do hope that you're right, that Retro is staffed up for Prime now, and they're back to being a Prime studio, and maybe now we get to see what ground up Prime from Retro Studios in the modern era looks like.
What would you have given this game score-wise? I know we don't ever assign scores to games at the end of our podcast like this, but I'm just curious because I did have to review this one, and it was tough. This was one of the toughest games I think I've ever reviewed.
I'm thinking letterboxed, a star scale, so...
Yeah, I gave this 4 out of 5.
I was going to say
on
4
our
out
scale.
of 5. 4 out of 5. If this game wasn't as polished as it was, and as beautiful as it was, it definitely wouldn't have broken 4. But I think its presentation and just, it's about as shiny as Samus' suit in this game. Honestly, it's really good. It's so well executed. Even if the ideas inside aren't the best, you can't fault the execution of them. So yeah, I would have given 4 out of 5 if we're doing a star scale. So higher than Metacritic. But just barely.
Just barely. I think, this game's legacy is obviously just its creation and everything surrounding it. The fact that it's out and it exists is a huge W, I guess, for people who wanted to see this. Yeah, the simple fact that it survived. But it was clearly Frankenstein together. There was another quote somewhere, we didn't mention it, but Tanabe or whoever mentions that they really couldn't restart development from scratch. When they rebooted it in 2019, they didn't scrap everything that had been done to the game prior. They kind of still continued with a lot of the core concepts and ideas behind that initial version of the project, and they just had to kind of pick it up and go from there. So a lot of it was reworked. I'm sure they, changed art direction and maybe some story elements and things like that, but whatever the core design ideas were ones that they were more or less stuck with. I think that's where he's talking about the open world and Breath of the Wild influences and stuff like that.
We didn't really mention this. We've mentioned it in passing, but we do have to remember this game was designed for the Switch 1, and it runs on Switch 1 and just as technically sound, to be quite honest. The Digital Foundry video is great if you want to look at the kind of comparison between those two versions. But when you think about the Tegra 1 custom chip inside the Switch 1 and you think of just the technical limitations and then what Retro is able to squeeze out of that, and you think that this whole game fits and runs at 60, not 4K 60 or even 1080 60, but it's pretty incredible when you think about that. And going forward, whatever Retro makes, will be a Switch 2. Well, assuming they get it out within one console generation, will be a Switch 2 exclusive. And so I'm curious what they can do unbound from the shackles of 2017 hardware.
Yeah, I'm 10 times more interested in seeing what a potential Metroid Prime 5 would look like compared to this Frankenstein's sort of monster of a game. And still, with all that being said, they largely landed the plane in a good place with this game. This game is never going to be what people thought or hoped it would first be when it was announced in 2017, but we still got a solid final product, especially for how development went on this. Most of the time, games that are in development hell like this do not turn out even remotely good. So the fact that this is even solid is nice to see. So yeah, let's hope we get Metroid Prime 5 in what, 2030 or something like that at this
Don't
point.
say that. Don't speak that curse over us. What you want to hope for is that we get Prime 2 remastered.
No, I actually don't, because I will
No.
not play that game again, because that's a Metroidvania game for sickos.
We'll get
as I
2 this
continue to
year.
call it.
They're gonna annualize Metroid, don't you know? It's gonna be 2 remastered. We'll get another 2D game. We'll get 3 remastered, and then 5 will come out. I do think Retro makes a new Metroid game again. Like I think that's what they work on next.
If I was a developer that joined the studio to work on this game, and I knew that the final version of this that got out to the public was not what everybody within the studio would have wanted it to be, that would inspire me that much more to then make my own from scratch, you know? So I have to imagine the studio is motivated to some degree to do that, and they probably will. Will Nintendo greenlight it? I don't know. Probably.
I'm curious how it will sell, how it has sold. I'm sure we'll learn those numbers, here in a financial report or two, come at, I guess, February or March, when that will come about. But you also have to think, like, all the tools are in place now, and obviously the staff are in place. So, and there's no theoretical baggage. So I would hope that development just naturally would be shorter, since they don't have to build from scratch, so to speak.
And even though Metroid games don't sell that well, it's not like Nintendo's going to stop making them either. Like, this will just always be one of its more niche franchises that is for a specific hardcore audience, and that audience will show up.
Hey, I don't know. My dad walked out here while I was playing it one time. He said, "Is this Metroid?" I was like, "You knew that? Amazing."
You gotta get him a Switch 2 so he can play this for himself. Max, that's not only the end of this episode, that's the end of this season until a theoretical Metroid Prime 5 maybe one day releases, and then we'll do an episode on that, because we do that. Resident Evil Requiem's about to come out, and we're going to do an episode on that. We're going to go back to our Resident Evil season and add that back to our list of episodes there. Do you want to talk about what's next for season 8 while also not committing to any timelines for season 8 here?
Yeah, so I remember when we announced season 7 and season 8, I wrote in one of my articles on the blog, I was like, surely it won't take us a year to play 5 Metroid games. I was correct in that. It took us almost 2.5. But we did announce season 8 alongside season 7, which was Castlevania. We have played a whopping total of 1 game for Castlevania out of 18 that we were going to play. But we did buy them all.
We do have them all.
At least the ones we were going to play. So we are prepared.
Dominus Collection became a thing in between the time we announced this season and us now looking to play these.
See, and also like Prime 4 came out in time for us to do this. See, it all works.
Yeah.
That procrastination has paid off. So we will be moving forward with Castlevania. We'll be jumping into, I think the next game we're playing is Rondo of Blood. Given our order for that season, you can go to chapterselect.com/season8 to see that order. I believe that's up there. Should double check my own work. But that's what's next. We're not committing to season 7's theme at the moment. We have ideas, but I think we're going to keep it closer to our chest this time instead of announcing it years in advance.
You mean season 9?
9, yeah.
Yeah.
So a little tighter on that one. I do have the order. It's 19 episodes. God help us all. I'm excited about it. And I say this with the biggest pinch of salt. You know, a year and a half, 2 years ago, we invited a lot of people to play Castlevania with us, and I have to follow up with all of those people when their time comes. But everyone say yes once again. It's going to be a great season with guests and fun games all around. And like Logan said, we have Resident Evil Requiem out as of recording this in like a month and a half. We will obviously be playing that and jumping back in to Season 5 Resident Evil and doing that. Actually, I need to go back and listen to our hopes and wishes for Resident Evil 9 and see how woefully wrong they all are, because 9 is shaping up to be pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, we've got in between now and Season 8 dropping, which we don't know when that'll be. We don't know when we're going to start to, I know I'm going to start trying to play through a lot of the Castlevania games, so hopefully we can get in a good cadence here.
They are much shorter.
They are for sure. And we've already done long seasons, with Pokemon and stuff like that. But on that note of Pokemon, like Gen 10 is going to come out at some point here. Like we'll go back and do an episode on that whenever that happens. Resident Evil we're going to do. If
Atreus goes to college.
Atreus goes to college. If Vin Diesel ever brings back the family, then we'll do another Fast and Furious episode. Like we've built up a nice back catalog of shows here for various franchises. And if you haven't gone back and listened to those yet, like the thing we're, I think, most proud of with this show is that the stuff we pushed out years ago, I think, is still just as relevant now. We have really created evergreen podcast in some sense, which I'm proud of.
One of our most popular episodes is Sticker Star, if you believe it or not.
Yeah, Season 1.
Paper Mario. And, that most likely will be getting another entry as well here on the Switch, too. I'm sure there will be another Paper Mario game at some point. So it's good times ahead. I'm excited to play Rondo of Blood again, honestly. It's going to be a great time. I saw a copy of that game in a retro shop a month ago. First time I've seen that one physically.
I don't think I've ever seen that one.
Oh, I would love to own it, but I don't even have a console for it. So,
yeah, if you've been, waiting for this season to come out for the longest period of time, first off, thank you for listening to the show. Second off, sorry for the delay in the wait here to get this one out. But we really, I know one of my resolutions of sort for this year is to really get back into the flow of the show and podcasting as a whole, and I'm really excited for what we've got lined up here in the months and years to come with this. So,
well, I think that does it. We did it. Season 7 is wrapped. It's done. It's toast. Put it in the Scan Visor vault until 5 comes out someday. Very exciting. Thank you all for joining us this season and listening, playing along with us. We've had a great time with you all. If you would like to listen to any of those seasons that we just talked about, head over to chapterselect.com. You can see all of the seasons we've got there. Check out the episodes in your podcast player of choice. If you would like to see the stuff that Logan works on, you can head over to comicbook.com where he writes over there. And for myself, you can go to maxfrequency.net. Check out the blog and the shows and podcasts there. But thank you all so much for listening to this season of Chapter Select. And until next time, adios.